If you live an average lifespan, your heart will beat somewhere between 2.5 and 3 billion times.
Which is a crazy number to think about.
Right. But here's the thing. It's not because of your diet. And it's not because of your genetics or, how much cardio you do.
No.
It's because, according to the text we are diving into today, your biological limits are hard-coded by the exact same mathematical equation that dictates the precise mass of the moon.
It is a profoundly radical shift in perspective.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, moving from seeing our lives and the universe at large, really, as a series of random, chaotic accidents, to seeing them as this inescapable, highly structured mathematical equation.
Exactly. So welcome to today's deep dive. We have a genuinely fascinating mission ahead of us.
We do.
We are exploring a philosophical text by an author named Su Feng. It's titled 36 8-Triogram Arrays, the Array of Destiny, and it was translated and edited by Kinyu. And our goal today is to examine how this text uses hard, measurable science, biological constants and everyday physics to argue that absolutely everything in the universe operates on a fixed destiny.
Everything, from planets to, well, people.
Right. But we aren't just looking at the architecture of this cosmic prison. We're going to uncover the text's loophole for how you can actually escape it.
Yeah, the escape hatch. And the text presents a worldview where determinism is stripped of all its vague mysticism.
No crystal balls here.
Exactly. It isn't about glowing crystal balls or vague prophecies. It argues that the occurrence, development, transition, and extinction of everything, every single phenomenon in the world, has a destiny that can be measured.
Like quantified.
Right, quantified.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the author grounds this massive philosophical concept in very stark, universally accepted scientific numbers.
Hard data.
Yeah. The text points out that an Earth year isn't just roughly a year. It is exactly 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds.
What's fascinating here is the rhetorical strategy the author employs. Well, by framing these empirical measurements as destinies, the text builds a case for philosophical determinism using the tools of hard science.
Yeah, he brings the receipts.
He does. I mean, it lists the exact mass of the sun as 1.989 times 10 to the 27th power tons.
Wow.
And the Earth is 9.89 times 10 to the 21st power tons. The moon is 7.35 times 10 to the 22nd power tons.
So specific.
Extremely. And the author isn't presenting these numbers as random evolutionary outcomes or, cosmic coincidences.
Nope.
They are presented as intentional, fixed parameters that hold the universe together.
But the text doesn't stop at astrophysics, though. It drags this math right down into our own biology.
That is where it gets really personal.
Very. It points out that a human has 2 eyes, 1 mouth, 1 head, and 2 legs. The human body has exactly 206 bones.
Yeah.
The text even notes that there is a specific size, quantity, and distance ratio between every single internal organ.
Right, and it goes beyond just anatomy into the strict limits of human physiology.
Like the heartbeats.
Exactly. We mentioned the 2.5 to 3 billion heartbeats. The text also notes that the normal pH of the human body is rigidly set between 7.35 and 7.45.
That's a tiny window.
It is. And the normal average body temperature, taken under the arm, sits between 36 and 37 degrees Celsius. Normal blood pressure is 140 millimeters of mercury systolic and 90 diastolic.
I was trying to visualize this while reading, and it honestly made me think of the underlying source code of a massive open-world video game.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Because if you've ever played one, you feel like you have total freedom to wander anywhere, right?
Sure.
But eventually you hit the edge of the map. You hit an invisible wall. You can keep pushing the controller forward, your character's legs are moving, but you are just walking in place.
You're stuck.
Yeah, the game's engine simply will not allow you to exceed that boundary. And the text seems to be arguing that the universe has these exact same invisible walls hard-coded into it.
That invisible wall analogy perfectly captures the mechanism the text is describing. Yeah. The author is arguing that your body actively fights to stay exactly at that 7.35 to 7.45 pH range.
Right.
If your body's pH deviates even slightly, the biological system pushes back.
It corrects it.
It corrects it, punishing you with severe illness or even death. It is a system of strict punishment and correction.
Wow.
Even the timing of biological events operates on this hard-coded schedule.
The text gives the example that it takes exactly 21 days for a chicken to hatch from an egg.
Not 20, not 22.
Right. For humans, gestation takes 10 months. Birth, teeth growing, the onset of puberty, the beginning of aging, and eventually death.
All on a timer.
Exactly. The text argues these aren't just biological processes, they are scheduled executions of a predetermined code.
Which forces us to look at the rules governing these constants.
Okay.
If these fixed boundaries exist everywhere, what happens when we try to test them?
When we push against the invisible wall.
Exactly. The text proposes a universal law. Everything has a strict limit, a certain proportion or degree. And exceeding that proportion or degree inevitably causes a qualitative change or a reversal to its opposite.
And the author uses some very grounded, everyday physical examples to prove this.
Yeah, very relatable ones.
Like, if you pour water into a container, there is the definitive mathematical moment when it is completely full. Pour one more drop and it overflows.
Right.
Or if you are eating a meal, there is a biological limit where you physically cannot ingest another bite without becoming sick.
The text also invokes the classic metaphor of the camel.
The straw that broke the camel's back.
Precisely. A camel can carry a tremendous amount of weight, but it has a maximum load. Beyond that limit, we see the literal application of that idiom.
Yeah.
It is a catastrophic failure caused by a minuscule addition. Or take a highly durable metal rod.
Okay.
The text points out that if you continuously strike it at a certain fixed point, it will eventually fracture and break. The limit is inescapable no matter how strong the material appears.
And the author takes this concept of inescapable limits and uses it to make a massive leap.
A huge leap.
He argues that the very fact that we can predict things proves that destiny exists.
Right.
The logic is that if there were no destiny, if things were truly random, it would be completely impossible to predict the weather for the next few days or even the next few hours.
It makes sense on some level.
The text also applies this to human history, noting that certain historical figures have accurately predicted future world changes.
But perhaps the most compelling scientific evidence the author uses to prove predictability is Dmitry Mendeleev and the periodic table of elements.
Oh, this part was wild.
It really is. Mendeleev didn't just organize the chemical elements that were already known to 19th century science.
No, he actually left blank spaces on his periodic table.
Exactly.
He successfully predicted the existence, the atomic weight, and the chemical properties of elements that hadn't even been discovered yet.
Because the math demanded it.
Right. He knew they had to exist because the mathematical pattern of reality demanded it.
And the text uses Mendeleev's periodic table to make a definitive, sweeping claim. This predictive power means that absolutely everything has a destiny, a law, and a rule.
Everything.
Everything. And this is where the author brings the cosmic laws of astrophysics and the chemical laws of the periodic table right down to the intensely personal level.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, because the text insists that the exact same law that governs the mass of the moon governs your daily life.
So wait, what does this all mean for free will? Because the text gets incredibly specific about you, the listener.
Very specific.
It claims that how long you will live, what illnesses you will contract, the people you meet, the conflicts you will have with them, the blessings and sufferings you will experience, and even the specific job you hold are inescapable destinies.
It leaves no wiggle room.
None. It quotes an ancient proverb, "What is meant to be will always find a way. What is not meant to be cannot be forced." I have to push back on this.
This raises an important question, and it's the core tension of the text.
Right. Because it's one thing to say that a chemical element follows a predictable rule based on protons and electrons, or that a metal rod will break if you apply enough physical force.
Sure.
But it feels like a massive logical leap to say that because Mendeleev could predict germanium, my choice to quit my job yesterday, or an argument I have with a coworker, was completely predetermined.
It feels wrong.
It does. Does the text conflate the cold, predictable laws of physics with the messy, psychological nature of human life?
Well, we naturally resist the idea of having no control over your psychological choices.
Of course we do.
We readily accept that a metal rod will break under pressure. We don't assign free will to the metal rod.
Right, it's just metal.
Exactly. But we desperately want to believe our own lives are exempt from that rigidity. However, within the framework of this text, there is absolutely no separation between physics, chemistry, and personal psychology.
But wait, a metal rod doesn't have anxiety or ambition.
No.
How does the author mathematically justify mapping human emotion to a piece of metal snapping?
Because the author views human ambition and anxiety not as magical external forces, but as complex chemical and biological reactions governed by the exact same strict limits.
Oh, I see.
In this framework, your tolerance for stress at your job has a maximum capacity, just like a camel's back.
Right.
Your boss's behavior provides the continuous strikes, just like hitting the metal rod.
Wow.
So when you finally quit your job in frustration, that isn't an exercise of free will. It is the inevitable straw breaking the camel's back.
So I didn't choose to quit. My limits were just reached.
Exactly. It is the underlying physics of the universe executing its code through your psychology. To the author, the laws governing planetary orbits are the exact same laws governing the people you will argue with tomorrow. It is a singular, unified system.
Man, if this system is truly that rigid, if we're all just acting out a predetermined script down to the exact number of heartbeats we are issued and the precise moment we lose our temper at work,
Wow.
what is the point?
It can feel bleak.
Yeah. Why does the universe require such a strict, unyielding structure?
Well, that brings us to the central mechanism of the text. The concept of the destiny array.
The destiny array.
The destiny array is framed as the ultimate, inescapable constraint that maintains the orderly operation of the entire world.
Okay.
By giving absolutely everything a certain destiny, the array allows things to grow, decline, change, and transit, but only within highly specific bounds.
And the text paints a genuinely wild picture of what reality would look like without this array.
It gets very creative.
It does. It argues that without the destiny array holding everything in place, the world would descend into absurd chaos. The Earth would literally fly out of the solar system.
Just drift away.
Yeah, and the seasons would simply stop changing periodically.
The biological anomalies the text suggests are even more surreal.
We are. It says that without the destiny array, tigers would grow wings. Mice would mutate to be bigger than cows.
Terrifying.
Right. It says humans would be able to drink the entire Pacific Ocean in a single gulp, and that some people would casually live for tens of thousands of years.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the author is completely redefining the concept of constraint. Often, we view boundaries and limitations, like our lifespan or our physical limits, as a prison. But the text breaks down this concept of constraint as a virtue.
A virtue.
Yeah. The author is using these surreal, almost mythological, biological anomalies like winged tigers and ocean-drinking humans to illustrate a profound point about entropy.
Meaning that without a hard-coded destiny enforcing boundaries, evolution wouldn't just be a little messy, it would be a physics-breaking disaster.
Precisely. If an organism could infinitely consume resources without a hard-coded limit, it would destroy the entire ecosystem.
The cow-sized mice would eat everything.
Exactly. Confining everything within a certain range, proportion, or degree isn't a cosmic punishment. It is the fundamental significance of the destiny array.
Sure.
It is the very foundation of order. The mundane limitations of your everyday life are actually what keep the universe from unraveling.
So we are operating inside this massive, unyielding framework, a cosmic safety net that keeps tigers wingless, but also rigidly dictates our illnesses, our careers, and our breaking points.
That's the trade-off.
Which brings us to the climax of the text's argument. If you are trapped in this rigid destiny array, inevitably cycling within a certain domain of life, is there any way out?
The text says yes.
A loophole.
A loophole, but the loophole it offers requires a total transformation. You cannot negotiate with the array.
So what do you do?
The only way to escape it is to fundamentally change your own nature.
The core rule here is explicitly stated: when the nature of things changes, their destinies change accordingly.
Right.
And the author uses incredibly diverse examples to prove this point. Here's where it gets really interesting, because the text mixes botany, metallurgy, culinary traditions, and illicit chemistry to explain this loophole.
Let's examine the positive or neutral examples of changing nature first. The text points out that if you take an apple and graft it onto a cold-resistant pear tree, you fundamentally change its biological nature to produce an apple pear.
Right, you change its rules.
Exactly. Its destiny changes from vulnerable to resilient. Or, if you take a common, unremarkable iron rod and magnetize it, it becomes directional. It now interacts with the Earth's magnetic field in a way it couldn't before.
My favorite physical example is the metallurgy.
Oh, yeah.
If you take ordinary iron and add carbon to it, a process called carbonization, it becomes alloy steel.
Right.
You haven't just painted the iron or reshaped it. You've completely changed its internal nature. And by doing so, you've massively improved its strength, its hardness, its toughness, and its plasticity.
Its destiny completely shifts.
Exactly. Its destiny is now to build skyscrapers instead of horseshoes.
The text also provides negative or toxic examples of changing nature. referencing certain food combinations that, when brought together, react to become toxic.
Yeah, it lists saccharin mixed with sweet wine, chestnuts with duck meat, persimmons with crabs, shrimp shells with red dates.
A very specific menu.
Right. The implication is that combining these elements rewrites their individual destinies into a collective poison.
Then the author uses a very stark, highly technical chemical example to drive this home.
This one was shocking.
It's very vivid. The text describes how morphine, which is naturally derived from the opium poppy, can react with a chemical called acetic anhydride.
Okay.
This causes a chemical process called esterification, resulting in the formation of a diacetyl derivative.
Let's break that chemistry down, because the text points out that this new derivative is the notorious, highly addictive drug heroin.
Exactly.
Think of esterification like snapping new Lego pieces onto a molecule.
Yeah.
By chemically snapping these specific pieces onto morphine, you change how it interacts with the human body.
Right, it behaves totally differently.
It becomes highly lipid-soluble, meaning it completely bypasses the brain's natural defenses in a way natural morphine cannot.
Wow.
You haven't just tweaked the substance. You've fundamentally rewritten its biological rulebook, changing its destiny into something incredibly destructive.
A total shift in nature.
Right. All these examples, from the apple pear to the alloy steel to the heroin, are building up to the ultimate escape hatch for human beings.
The text argues that the only key for humans to escape the destiny array is to undergo a similar alchemical transformation.
Okay.
Specifically to replace human consciousness with what the text calls celestial consciousness.
This is a staggering concept. It is saying that you cannot outsmart the destiny array while remaining fundamentally human.
No, you can't.
You cannot just think your way out of it or try really hard to change your career destiny if your underlying operating system hasn't shifted.
That is the ultimate synthesis of the text's argument. Just as iron must physically become steel to change its breaking point, and just as morphine must be chemically altered to bypass the brain's defenses,
A human has to change.
a human must undergo a qualitative change in their very nature. This shift to a celestial consciousness is required to unlock a completely new set of rules.
You get a new code.
Exactly. As the text states, after this replacement, your destinies as a human end and your destinies as a celestial being begin. You leave the old array, the old invisible walls, entirely behind.
It is a remarkable, challenging journey this text takes us on.
It really is.
I mean, we started by looking at the cold, hard math of the universe, the precise mass of the sun, the exact length of an Earth year.
Right.
We explored the biological hard coding of our 206 bones, the pH limits of our blood, and the mathematical limit of a camel's back.
The invisible walls.
Exactly. We unpacked the surreal imagery of winged tigers to understand how entropy and chaos are held back by these rigid rules.
Yeah.
And it all leads to this one ultimate conclusion.
Which is?
You cannot cheat the system. You can only transform your fundamental nature to belong to a different system entirely.
Well said.
Which makes me wonder about where we are heading as a species.
Oh.
Yeah, because
Well, the text establishes that everything in the physical and biological world has a hard-coded limit, right? Like the 2.5 to 3 billion heartbeats a human is granted. But what happens when we introduce modern medical technology into this equation?
oh, wow.
If artificial pacemakers, organ transplants, and advanced life support systems allow us to artificially bypass those biological limits, what is actually happening within the framework of the destiny array?
That is a crazy thought.
By extending our physiological limits through technology, are we successfully hacking the destiny array and changing our nature into something post-human?
Yeah.
Or did the array already predetermine from the very beginning that we would inevitably invent the technology to do so?
That is the kind of question that will keep you staring at the ceiling tonight.
Yeah, I will.
Are we finally breaking the code, or is the code just infinitely deeper than we ever imagined?
A great question to leave on.
Definitely. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take some time today to ponder your own invisible walls, where your limits currently lie within the destiny array, and what kind of alchemy it might take to shift your own consciousness. Until next time.